We believe Carolina basketball and I believe we're episode 109. I think we're 9 into this thing, which is great. And we had a rough start. We started out on a loss, so I think we've been rolling since, which is always nice. Carolina takes down Louisville 86-70. I'm Graham Bunn, former D1 college point guard, played overseas a little bit, and got my brother, UNC alum, all around amazing guy, and was at the game. I feel like we're paying you too much, man. I saw you sitting courtside, feet on the wood, man. We got to renegotiate your contract, man.
Man, I had a big smile on my face for several hours as soon as we rolled into Chapel Hill. I mean, it is food for the soul. I mean, just showing up in Chapel Hill is food for the soul, and then when you get to be in the Dean Dome and then having seats like that, I mean, it's just it's about as good as it gets. That's living large.
I sent you you were all over the broadcast, and then honestly, the ball came over. It was like, I think 3 or 4 people down to the left of you. I was like, oh man, I was hoping you grab it and maybe throw up a shot real quick,
We were joking. We were like, if the ball comes to us from here, what are the chances we could hit rim?
Right,
I was like, very low, very low. I haven't shot a basketball in 10 years, so it would be an embarrassing air ball. Would they throw you out for that? If like the ball came to you and you just jacked up a shot from the sidelines?
They would escort you out. This is going to be a name drop, but my buddy Pat Schwarzenegger, he's a big Laker fan. He went to the Lakers versus the Denver Nuggets playoff game. It was like game 4 in Denver. It was a closeout game, and Austin Reeves hit a deep 3 at the end, and he was dressed in, and he did this on purpose, but he was dressed in full Lakers gear, and he got up and was dancing around like right near the court because he was courtside. They 1,000% escorted him out. I recorded it and sent it to him. They showed him escorting him out. Yeah, you would have definitely been escorted out. Well, that's good, man. I mean, what was it? So again, we'll get into the game and we'll recap it. I think Louisville's they're a tough team to like put your thumb on. I mean, they win at Miami, but other than that win, there's some glaringly terrible holes in their schedule and their rankings, and it just their resume doesn't read very well. So I think we handled business the way we should. But what was it like actually being in the Dean Dome for a team, which I would imagine no one would argue this point? There's more excitement around this team and the program than there has been in 4 years.
Yeah, I don't get to go to that many games. I can't really say how it's felt, versus the last couple of years. But everybody I was with remarked at the energy coming into the building, in the building itself for, Wednesday night, 9 o'clock start against, like you said, Louisville team that nobody's expecting much from on a very cold night. I mean, it was great energy throughout. One of the things I noticed is I think that the crowd is really picking up on the defensive intensity. I mean, there were several moments in the game where you got a buzz from the crowd when, a guard would stay in front of somebody, or we would, have a couple of good defensive possessions in a row. I mean, it's not quite UVA where they go nuts when they get a shot clock violation, but the crowd, I think it appreciates the energy that the team's putting into defense, and you felt the crowd giving back on the defensive end, which was great to see. And Hubert, I think you've mentioned this on a prior episode, but Hubert, he is really coaching every possession, and even when we're up 15 or 20, I mean, he is demanding intensity on every defensive possession. And where I was sitting, like you said, I was courtside, so a lot of times as the other team's coming down, you can see Cormac calling out sets and talking, before they even cross half court, and you can see the intensity on their faces, as they're dialing in. It's not like they're just waiting for that possession to be over so they can go down and play offense. I mean, they're paying attention and they're communicating, and you really feel it, when you're in those seats.
Oh man,
so
awesome.
it was fun to see. The other thing that you feel is the physicality. I mean, there are a couple times like, Baycott's like banging with guys down low, and you realize those are big human beings slamming into one another. Whithers too, like in person, man, he is an impressive athlete, just big and fast and agile. You see it on TV, but you really felt it in person.
Yeah, big game for him. Obviously transferred in from Louisville, so for him to have the game that he had to feel amazing. I mean, I transferred in college, and I remember at one point in time, there was a deal on the table my senior year to play my former team, Bowling Green. And I remember having mixed emotions about, man, I'd love to go and just, ball out, because I kind of had the green light my senior year. So that's the game that I could have been a little bit selfish. But on the flip side of it, you never want to make it personal. It's a team game. And, that would have been a very challenging game not to kind of go after yours. And so for him to play as well as he did, it had to be the best game of the season for him.
Yeah, by far. And, unlike you, you're probably the star of that team. So there's good certainty that you were going to get a lot of minutes and get some shots and probably.
Oh, I was going to play all 40, and I was going to put up at least 20 to 25 shots easy.
Well, with Whithers, you don't really know, and so he probably going into that Louisville game wasn't exactly sure, how many minutes he was going to get, what kind of impact he was going to be able to have. And for him to play like he did, by far his best game, I think, in a Tar Heel uniform. It's unfortunate because I think Cormac, had a good game going and then picked up a couple what I thought were not great fouls.
Right.
I mean, bad calls, not on him. Yeah, so he had 4, had to sit down. So then Whithers got to really get in a rhythm in the second half and just really played very well. And he was given his former teammates a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can see it. I'm sure I'm sure you heard a few things that weren't picked up on the broadcast, but you could see it. Yeah,
you could see it.
And you know what I loved? One of the things, and this will go unnoticed. You might not have seen it. Maybe you did see it because you were in the building. But anyone watching the broadcast, I think this would have slipped by. So Whithers, his stat line, by the way, 24 minutes, 15 points, 10 rebounds, and only on 6 shots. So he has a double-double in 24 minutes against his former team, which there's a lot of pressure that you want to perform, you want to do well. But he made that kind of acrobatic and one where he's on the block, spun, got it up off the glass, and it goes in. Well, everybody's excited, his teammates. One of the things that I love about our team this year, and maybe it existed before, I didn't see it a ton. I'm just happening to notice it a lot this year. Baycott, if you go back, if anyone watches this, and by the way, it seemed like we're picking up a few people watching our stuff, which is very, very cool. So if you happen to see this, thank you. Tell a friend. Baycott celebrated and gave the too small on his behalf. Like he was genuinely like, yeah, it was really cool to see the teammates want that for him and want to celebrate him in that moment, because I would imagine anyone that plays ball understands it's not the easiest thing to transfer schools. You're leaving friends or you're leaving people that you feel don't believe in you, and then you get to play them and you ball out. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I also appreciate the fact that Hubert, and somewhat because I think Cormac's foul trouble, but also, Whithers was rolling and he was feeling it, and Hubert left him in, and I'm like, that's what you should do as a coach, and I appreciated that too, because I'm sure Hubert, he wanted him to go off in that game as well, and it did feel like everybody was celebrating with him, and it was fun. And when Cormac and Whithers combined for 29. We're going to be tough to beat. So hopefully, we'll look back and we'll say this is the game where Whithers realized the full extent of what he can contribute to this team. And I think he's been finding his role and it's been building. And then it really reached a new level during this game. And not that I would expect this stat line every single game from him, but his ability to cut baseline and finish and play defense and get out. I mean, it's the guys I was sitting with, we were talking about it afterwards, and we were like, man, he is a weapon off the bench. I mean, there aren't that many teams in the country that have that type of athlete coming in off the bench. So hopefully his role continues to expand because he's a difference maker when he plays like that.
Yeah, speaking of that, so the broadcast picked up late into the game. It was like 15-minute mark, and we were already up 15-4. So I didn't get a chance and have no clue how we started. Obviously, we started well, but when I got clicked over to the broadcast, Whithers and Trimble were already in. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about a little bit tonight, because I don't think the game anticlimactic. I think we should have won. We did win. We took care of business. This game is not going to show up in any kind of conversation outside of had we lost it on the resume buzz for March. So, hey, it was a game we were supposed to win. We handled business, and it was great for Jalen Whithers to perform that way against his former team. Other than that, rotation-wise, because I think moving forward, the rotation is going to get more and more set. Like, it's not going to change much. Who was first off the bench, or did they sub in both at the same time? Do you remember? Like, who is our 6th man? who was our seventh man? Like, what are you thinking?
I think that first rotation off the bench, we may have put in 3. I think we put in Trimble, Whithers, and Washington all together.
Okay.
And then Wojcik also got some minutes in the first half.
He had a couple good looks, didn't go down, but I don't mind that shot at all. I mean, he took good shots. I like Paxton. I think he's great for the team. Hopefully, he's great for the locker room. I don't know if we can expect more than 8 to 10 minutes from him in meaningful games. I don't know if he's got more impact than that.
Yeah. I mean, he had 2 very good looks from 3. Didn't make either, which was too bad. He continued to stay aggressive. I mean, while he was still in, he actually drove baseline and drew a foul, made both free throws, and then got subbed out at the next TV timeout. Yeah. But he plays hard. He plays very good defense, I think. And so if he could make some of those threes, I just don't know what his confidence level's at. Although he did have that jab step back 3 against Clemson, which was huge.
Which was huge. I will give him this. He only played 3 minutes, and he got 2 good looks, and he got to the line. So he got after it. Like his analytics, his metrics are through the roof.
Yeah. I think Washington got fewer minutes than he's been getting, and then I think
he played 4 minutes. I was going to ask you about that. Like, what do you think about that? That's pretty low. Usually it's 10 to 12.
Yeah, it could be a function. I just think of Whithers playing so well. I think Whithers ended up getting in the second half all of Washington's typical minutes, and I can see why. I mean, it's hard to take him out, given how he was playing and balling out against his former team. So I guess I'm okay with that. I also think, Louisville was playing small, and so there weren't really many opportunities to play him and Baycott together, and so I think that also impacted his minutes. I don't think we should read too much into it, but other than just Whithers playing really, really well.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would gamble at a high percentage that this was the most minutes Whithers has ever played in a game. Even when he was, in the starting lineup, I don't think he ever cracked 22 minutes, and he played 24 last night.
Yeah, well, that first 4-minute stretch is too bad you didn't get to see it because it was awful. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. And it was interesting because a guy turned to me, he goes, "Why did we sub out? Like, we were playing so well." And I was like, I think Hubert's just trying to keep the rotations. But that first stretch, I think Cormac hit a 3. I think RJ hit a 3. Cormac may have hit 2. We just came out flame throwing in that first 4 minutes, and we looked great. One of the notes I had here was spurtability in this game was good. There were stretches where we went a little bit cold. And didn't play great.
I mean, they cut it to 5 at one point in time. What was it like in the building when they started to make, a push? And maybe it was 8, but I feel like they got it to 5 at one point in time in the second half.
Surprisingly confident.
Well, that's good. Okay.
All right. It never felt
like it's going to get away from us.
And maybe it was, the vibe the team was giving off. I actually, one is sort of more fun as a fan, the fact there's a little bit of game pressure and then we were able to respond and pull away again versus just like blowing them out, being up 40. Right. But the team didn't panic. The team kept executing. When we need to hit the gas, we hit the gas. I think it's probably good for them to have a little bit of game pressure and be able to respond. I think there's a little bit of human nature when you come home, you beat Syracuse by 30, you're sort of rolling against Louisville, up 17 or 20 or whatever it was, get a little bit lackadaisical. We missed some chippies during that stretch, and then they made, some reasonably hard shots. And so, but then, when we needed to, we were able to respond. So I thought it was good for the team that happened. It also gives Hubert something to harp on as opposed to just 2 blowouts. And like, what do you say to the team?
Yeah, of course.
So I think it played out pretty well for us.
Yeah, one of the things that stood out to me, and I love and continue to see it from Seth Trimble, we know what he's going to give us defensively. Like, he played some unbelievable on-the-ball defense, and that's not a shocker. But what I do love is how comfortable he looks from behind the arc when he has space and room. Like, last year, people were just leaving him, and it wasn't a concern at all. This year, it is a concern. Now, if I'm Carolina, I find a way to get him to the corner because I would love to see the metrics on his percentages above the bend in the arc in the corner. So I think the measurements, I'm not exactly sure. I think the new college 3-point line is roughly 22 feet and 2 inches. I think it's like 22 and 1 inch 0.75 or something. So basically like 22 and 2 inches. But I think the corner is, oh no, so up top it's 23 inches and 3/4. But the corners is 22 flat. And I don't know what it is, and I'm the same way now, just because I don't have strong enough legs, or your shot changes. The corner, when I was growing up, people were like, oh, the corner three's bad. Now the corner three is like where you want to be. I don't know, because it's closer, but he looks so much more comfortable, even if it's just that 1 inch 0.75 or 1.75 inches. I would love to see his percentages from the corner as opposed to anywhere above the break in the arc.
Yeah. And also, I think he seems more comfortable driving from the corner for some reason. He's made, a lot of good baseline drives this season.
Well, you know where that probably comes from. That and again, this is just the former player in me, is that when you play pickup, obviously you want to win, you want to stay on, especially when it's the team pickup, because there's usually 20 guys or 15 guys, and sometimes you have to sit and blah blah blah. He probably understands that, one, he can make that corner three, so he drifts over to the corner three quite a bit, and he just ends up having a counter. Like, people start to close out on him because they know he can make it. So then he has to create counters. He's probably comfortable there because he played a lot of it in pickup.
Yeah. There's this one play I wanted to talk about because it was amazing live.
Okay.
So that we were pressing, and by the way, I love us putting on the press, a few times each half, and we got some turnovers again. It's been working just about every game. Yeah. Anyway, Cadeau, who, by the way, got his hands on a lot of balls, he had a lot of deflections last night, but he deflected a ball, and Trimble chased it down to get the steal. And I think he probably covered 3 times the distance that the Louisville player tried to cover. Right. And just outran him to the ball, just like sheer hustle, like yanked it away from him, and then started the fast break. And like that type of effort from him is unbelievable. And that was one like the crowd really responded to, because you could just tell how hard we were playing, and so he ignites stuff on defense, and there's like several possessions every game where I feel like he stays in front, and turns the guy like 2 or 3 times. I mean, it's just,
look, Sky Clark is a really good player. People aren't familiar with Sky Clark. If you're listening to this, you're a Carolina fan. I think we recruited him for a little while. He ended up signing, I think, at Illinois, and it didn't work out there. Illinois is a big time program. Their basketball program has, had a resurgence. They're top 25, and they had Purdue on the ropes. They're a very good team. They might be in the top 10 now. I'm not sure, but he transferred. And I know Louisville's had some down years. I don't think they made the tournament in the last 3 years, but he is a very good player, and he was a highly sought after transfer. So when Seth Trimble sat down in that chair and basically put the locks on him, mano a mano, I was really proud of. I was really loving Seth Trimble.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I had the same note. I was like, Sky Clark is a great player. Also, I think compliments to Kenny Payne and like the Louisville for how they played in the second half.
Yeah,
I mean, you could say, oh, we let up a little bit, but you go in down 17 at half on the road, given the last couple of years, and they can't have a whole lot of confidence as a team. It'd be easy to roll over, at 10 o'clock at night on a Wednesday. And they didn't. They came out and they competed. Sky Clark in particular came out and played a great second half.
Yeah.
They've got a good staff. I mean, they got Danny Manning on that staff. They got who's the dude from Duke they have? Smith.
Oh yeah, Nolan Smith, who's an incredible recruiter. Back in the day when Coach K was getting all those recruiting classes, for anyone listening, Nolan Smith was attributed to the bigger names on that. So when he went to Louisville, it was kind of a big, a blow to the Duke recruiting staff. But yeah, they won at Miami.
Yeah,
they beat Miami at Miami on the 10th. So like 1 week ago, they went in, and one of the harder places to play in the ACC, they went in there and got a dub. So again, we were supposed to win that game. We did win that game, but make no mistake, Louisville is more than capable of stealing one, and they didn't, which is nice.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see how they play out the rest of the ACC schedule. My prediction is they're going to beat some people that
Oh yeah,
and it's going to surprise people just given their record the last couple of years. But they've got some nice players on that team. They've got some good athletes.
Yeah, they're thin down low. When the big got in foul trouble and they had to go small ball, I think with the lineups that we had, I don't think that they matched up well. Which, by the way, before I forget, I want to give Cormac Ryan all the love in the world. He basically was 4 for 6. There was one 3-pointer that you throw up at the end of the shot clock. He was put in a bad spot, so he ended up 4 for 7. But he was really 4 for 6 and shot it extremely well. But it does support my case. When Cormac Ryan shoots it well, we are very, very, very tough to guard on the offensive end. And I made a note here, just from I don't know who's ever going to watch this, but anytime he doesn't dip the ball, like if he's just a catch and shoot, if he doesn't reset the ball, if he keeps it above his, I want to say his chest line, it's a bucket every time. Mark it in the books. Anytime he dips the ball below his chest, it's back iron. It's too long. If he keeps the ball high, he's strong enough to get it there, and it's nothing. He was hitting bottoms, and it was great.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I don't know if you were ever in a shooting slump, and if so, like
never.
What
never.
would you
don't know what it's like? Never heard of it. Never heard of a shooting slump, bro.
I mean, do you look at film? Are you trying to look at your makes and misses and look for tendencies? I mean, I assume you're, and my guess is it's more your base than it is probably up top on the release too. And I wondered, is there something going on with his feet? Maybe he's compensating for the ankle turn or something. I mean, he's just too good of a shooter. I feel like there's got to be something going on in the mechanics, but maybe he's got it figured out now. That'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, shooting is like the golf swing. Like there are mechanics that you teach everyone to shoot the ball, but just like a golf swing, everybody's built differently. So everybody has a different shoot. I mean, you can look at Steph Curry; he's the greatest shooter to ever live, and mechanically, he's got a push shot. You know what I mean? Like it's just not how I was taught to grow up shooting. But there was a couple times. Anytime I dipped below 40% from three, that was kind of my bar. Like, look, I'm not the most athletic, and I wasn't a lockdown defender just because I didn't have the athleticism to move laterally. So I had to be really selective with like how I guarded guys, especially as a point guard on the D1 level. And when we were playing teams like Carolina or we were playing Marquette and I was guarding Dwayne Wade, like there was times where it was like, okay, this guy is 10 times the player than me. I have to be really smart and put him in a position to do things that it's really just, is there a higher percentage that he's not good at that, rather than I'm going to take this away from him. And so when you're looking at your makes and misses, I couldn't say for Carmack, but I know that the managers when I was in college would make highlight films of all your misses. Well, here you go. Here's all your misses. Here's all your makes. And you can just kind of, okay, I seem to be successful this area of the floor. I'm successful coming off pin downs and planting the left and swinging my right. I'm not as good planting my right, swinging my left, things like that. If it's off the ball, are you coming downhill? Or are you going sideways? But yeah, I totally would watch tape. I would watch all my misses, and then I'd review my makes and see where I was successful. But he looked good shooting the ball last night. And again, he's at home, so I would hope so. And I don't know, like you said, he made his first one. We were up 15-4, so I don't know if he made one before 15. I didn't get a chance to see it. But anytime that ball goes in on your first and second shot, like you get confidence and you're starting to feel good. So it was just really good to see him knock it down. I've been kind of hard on him, and we have an Instagram account, and I have gotten messages about not being as hard on Cormac Ryan. What do you know? Like, I was a decent shooter. I wasn't good enough to play at Carolina, even though I did have some interest as a walk-on. It was a conversation for a different time. But yeah, he shot it well, and I love the kid. The kid, he loves basketball. He's playing. It's like his 6th year. He's living his life, and he's tough. He's actually become a really good defender when he needs to be. So I want to see him be successful. I want to see him be an all-league guy. But when he shoots it well, I feel like we're hard to beat.
Yeah, so we listened with my buddies on the ride up to Chapel Hill. We listened.
Was it painful? Because I know you don't. Anyone listening to this, Zach, please flood him with comments or whatever. But Zach doesn't like to listen. I don't think he's listened to one of our shows ever, not one time.
It is a little painful, but I'm getting over it. But anyway, so we listened and they noted your criticism of Cormac. And so every time, and I think he made his first 3 or 4 threes. And every time he made one, they turned to me. They go, "What is your brother going to say? What is your brother going to say now?"
Yeah, what's he going to say now? Well, hey, you know what? Your buddies are right. Your buddies are right. And Mr. Cormac Ryan, if you're out there, I do love you. You're one of my favorite players. I just want to see you shoot it the way I know you can shoot it.
So last week I lost our bet. We
You
bet
did.
we bet $1, I believe, whether or not we'd be in the top 4. So happily, I owe you $1.
You do owe me $1.
But rather than paying you, I thought maybe we would go double or nothing this week.
All right. What's the bet?
So given we're talking about Cormac, I think maybe we should set a line on number of made threes by Cormac against BC on Saturday.
Okay. What are you giving me? Over or under 4?
So I was going to set the line at 4 too. All right, so that's good.
Okay.
So yeah. So I feel like I have to take the over given the flow of this conversation, and I feel like you kind of have to take the under. But if you want the over, I'll let you have it.
No, I mean, I'll take the under, but I hope I lose, obviously. I want him to hit 10 threes. Listen, you got to understand, Cormac Ryan is a very similar player to what I was outside of creating for other people. Like, I am very proud, of my ability with my limited athleticism to create shots for other people on the D1 level. But other than that, like, I was a shooter. I understand I was a tough-nosed kid. Like, I had to contribute in ways that probably didn't show up on the stat sheet. So Cormac Ryan is literally one of my favorite players ever from Carolina. I see a lot of myself, a much better version Cormac Ryan is than I was, but I see a lot of myself in the ways that he contributes to the team. So make no mistake, anyone that ever hears this, and maybe Cormac hears it, maybe he doesn't, I'm pulling for the kid to prove everyone wrong, and myself included, to be above 40% and just start stroking. But I'll take that bet. I guess I'll take the under, but I pray that I'm handing you, or I pray that we end up even after the BC game. Do you know much about BC? How are you feeling about that?
I know nothing about BC.
I'm going to pull up their schedule right now and just see, what their schedule looks like and who have they beaten.
And I know we've been complimenting his defense all along, but like, he's a bigger, longer wing than I realized. Like, seeing him in person, like, he does a good job of sort of staying in front. He drew a couple charges.
Yeah,
he can contest. I mean, he is a good wing defender.
Yeah.
And if he gets his 3-point shooting percentage up to high 30s, watch out. I mean, we take it to a whole nother level.
Look, I asked for 35 to 38%. I didn't ask for 40. 35 to 38, and I swear we can beat anybody in the country. All right, Boston College, it looks like, again, we're on the road. Winning in the ACC on the road is challenging, but it's a game that I would imagine we're favored by at least 7, and we should win. I'm not looking past it, but I do want to read off the next few games and just because we have a tough stretch coming. And I do believe there's some really good teams in the ACC that are better than their records say. Florida State just got a big win. Georgia Tech just beat Clemson at Clemson. I watched that game. They got a ton of young talent, which, that can cut. Yeah, they beat Duke. That cuts two ways. Like, when they're young, sometimes they're inexperienced, but there's a wonderful naivete of like, no, I'm nice. I've been nice my whole life. Of course we're going to win this game. You know what I mean? So, we have Boston College at Boston College. We play Wake Forest, who's really good. We get them at home. We go to Florida State, and we go to Georgia Tech before the Duke game. So for the next 4 games, I kind of know what you're going to say. What are you thinking? Give me your expectations. Give me what you want. Give me your reality, all of the above.
So the rundown again is we got BC on the road Saturday, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Then we come home to Wake on Monday, so short rest.
Yep. It's going to be a 7:00 tip Eastern Standard Time, so Monday night.
All right. And then what do we have after that?
We go to Florida State.
Okay, that's always a hard game for us.
Yeah, it's a Saturday game. I love Saturday games. And then we have at Georgia Tech on Tuesday.
Okay.
So it's a tough 4-game stretch. Again, Boston College is a team we should beat, but it's on the road. So anytime you play on the road, you got to show up.
Yeah, I think if we went 3 for 4 from that stretch, I'd be pretty happy.
Yeah, agreed. And where do you stand on? Because there's been times, and I talk to people all the time now because I've sort of allowed my fandom to come out, and I don't know. I really enjoy doing this show with you. People are asking me, well, do you think they could go undefeated? I don't even want to think of that. And I think there's some disadvantages to that. I think you learn a lot about yourself and about the team in losses, and I'm never looking to lose. But I think if we take 3 out of these 4, and maybe it's if I had to guess, the Florida State at Florida State's going to be very, very challenging. That's going to be a difficult game. That would be the one that I would say, that could go either way. I do think anytime we put the shoes on, lace them up, and step on the hardwood, we got a chance to beat whoever's in front of us. But if we go 3-1, I'm with you. I think that's a win.
Yeah.
And then we roll into Duke at home, which is nice.
The consistency this team's played with is impressive.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think I could point to a single game this year where I'm like, yeah, we just didn't show up, or we didn't play with any effort, or who was that team? Which after the last 2 years is a bit different.
Sure.
And it's great to see. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with Hubert, of course, but also think Baycott and RJ and the leadership that they're showing. I don't want to take anything away from Cormac. He's also an experienced guy, but so far our ups and downs from game to game have been pretty minimal. And so hopefully that continues, but I don't know if that means we can go undefeated in the ACC, but we're not playing down to the competition. We're showing up and playing with intensity every night. So hopefully that continues, but so far it's been great.
Yeah, I love it. All right, man. Well, also good news. Yeah.
Hey, before we go,
yeah.
How about that punch that Cadeau had?
Yeah, man. I was gonna ask, again, he looks athletic with the ball because he can get to the rim. He's got a burst, but that was sneaky. That was sneaky that he went up there and punched that.
So he tipped and stole it on the inbound,
right,
and then tipped it to himself. Then drove down, and the guy was stalking him, and I think that guy thought he was going to lay it up and was going to try to pin it.
Yeah.
And Cadeau was having none of it. I mean, he just exploded to the basket, and oh man, it was great. In person,
I mean, everybody went wild, but you know what it looked like on television? It looked easy. It looked like it wasn't like he was like, oh man, I hope I can get this in. It looked like he was like, all right, I'm gonna punch this.
Yeah. I mean, I thought he was just gonna lay it up, and then no, sir. I mean, he went after it, and he let that guy know it too. But in person, he's even more impressive than on TV. I mean, he's thicker than I thought, and also just incredibly quick. I mean, he stays in front too on defense, and for a freshman point guard, I mean that I would say is usually probably the thing that comes along the slowest for a lot of guys. And I just love the ball in his hands. I mean, I've gotten to the point where I'm 100% confident he's going to make the right read, and but yeah, he's an impressive athlete.
One of the things, are you concerned at all about the free? I know, we're nitpicking, but unfortunately, that's kind of, what we're doing here. We're talking about hypotheticals. Are you concerned at all about his ability to hit open jump shots? Definitely behind the three. And then are you worried about, because I think he now is up to like 29 for 49 from the free throw line, which is equivalently 58-60% roughly. Are you worried about that at all? Because the ball's going to be in his hands a lot.
Yeah. I think you have to be concerned about it a little bit. I think the form looks pretty good on the free throw. The rotation's good. I'm not a shot doctor, but it feels like it's a little flat. So I feel like it just needs to sort of get a little bit higher. But the rotation's good, and it seems like it's online. It's not like he's just like all over the place and the form's broken. So I kind of expect that the free throws are going to come. I'm not sure about the 3-point shot this year. It hasn't really hurt us.
One of the things that I love about our staff, I mean, we have Lebo and Davis on staff, and they're two of the best shooters to ever play at Carolina. So, if there's a guy looking to improve one skill set of his game, shooting would be the thing that I think we are most suited to. Hey, we'll fix and correct some things. We'll get you in a spot to be better at it.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember the play, one more Cadeau play. I love talking about Cadeau, but one more Cadeau play. But we were coming down on semi break, and RJ was bringing it down. He was in the middle. He pitched it to Cadeau on the right wing, and it barely touched his hands. And Cadeau immediately popped it back out to RJ to the top, and then RJ made a three. Now it didn't count because Baycott got fouled down low, and they went and reviewed it. Yeah. But just it was just that touch pass I mean, he's looking ahead. He's
Right.
one step ahead. And like, you can't coach that stuff.
I know people will call me crazy, but I honestly do believe that he's an even better passer as of right now than Kendall Marshall was, which that's very tough. Kendall Marshall was an incredible point guard, pass first guy. And I think if he doesn't break his wrist, we win a national title that year when ended up leaving the program. But I think Cadeau's a better passer. I think he's more of a threat. I think he can get to the rim a little bit easier. Kendall Marshall was a bigger player and I think was better defensively. But Cadeau's ability to find guys, see a play ahead, know what's about to happen before it happens, I think is just something we haven't had in a long time. Definitely since maybe Kendall Marshall. All right. Now, then the last thing I'll ask you before we end this show, we won't take much time. How about Jay Williams, though, putting it out there?
Are you talking about the transfer comment?
Yeah, man.
Did he do that just for you?
I don't know. He called me that night and said, "Hey, man, you're gonna love tomorrow's news cycle." I was like, "Oh yeah," I didn't know what he's talking about.
Hey, if you take him at his word, I think that speaks very highly of Hubert and the system and the way that we're playing. And for someone of his stature, National Player of the Year, to sort of look at our style and say, "Hey, that would be fun. I'd love to play in that system." I think that speaks volumes to how Hubert has the team playing. Hopefully, recruits are viewing it the same way, and they want to come play in the system. I mean, obviously we got Cadeau, we got Ian Jackson coming in, Drake Powell coming in. Obviously, I think the future is very, very bright for the program, and a ton of positive energy, which is so much fun as a fan.
Yeah, I want to give him his flowers because we do love him, and I am trying to get him to come on for our Duke week. But it got me to go down some YouTube rabbit holes for anyone watching this and not familiar. Or, I'm sure most people have heard because he is around college basketball, how good he was at Duke. I mean, I think he'd be even better today, which is saying a lot about his game. Like, I think the way he was able to shoot the three, it was like either shoot the three or he's dunking it. Like, there wasn't a lot. He just did those two things incredibly well, and I think he'd be even better today. He was one of the best college basketball players to ever lace him up.
Hopefully he'll come
and loves
on.
Carolina now. It's the best. Go Heels, baby.
Go Heels.
All right, man. Episode 9 done in the books. You're the man. I'm jealous that you were at the game and can't wait to chop it up. Hopefully it's another big win at Boston College on the road.